Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer heading to Switzerland. They will sit face to face with their Chinese counterparts for the first time since all of this began. The world's two largest economies are meeting to, quote, de-escalate and not to decouple, according to the administration. Here's President Trump a short time ago.
China said the U.S. initiated the trade talks this weekend and that its position hasn't changed. Are you still confident you can reach a deal with China?
They said we initiated? Well, I think they ought to go back and study their files.
Are you open to pulling back your tariffs in order to get China to the negotiating table?
No.
No, very firm. President Trump will not back down on the tariffs in order to get the Chinese to the negotiating table. There's the Fed benchmark unchanged. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But in the face of all this uncertainty with the tariffs, moments ago, as we're showing you here, the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, held rates steady. We know that President Trump has encouraged him to lower rates several times on Truth Social and other places. So let's talk about this and some other important economic of the moment issues as we bring in Stephen Miron with us. He is the chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Stephen, good to have you back. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I actually want to start with a quote from about Chinese factories and their economic situation, because we heard President Trump moments ago saying that, you know, he feels like the United States is saving money with this tariff plan. But here's what's happening in China, according to this report in the New York Times, and there have been a lot of other similar reports. Chinese factories were hit with the steepest slowdown in activity in more than a year, and shipments of Chinese goods to the United States have plunged, triggering a wave of warnings from retailers about shortages. The American economy shrank in the first 3 months of the year, and companies slashed growth forecasts. So what's your take on that? Because we know that China is hurting, and we know that there have protests from individuals whose workplaces in China have been shut down, and they're very angry, and certainly that poses a threat to President Xi, I would imagine.
Yeah, so I think that's broadly right. And, you know, the Chinese economy is built on exporting goods to the United States consumer market. And the United States consumer market is the biggest, most reliable, highest quality in the world. There is no substitute. And this is why the United States has the leverage in this situation, and exactly why the president has decided to start putting American workers on fair ground vis-a-vis our trading partners like China, because he knows the United States has leverage like this.
Any thoughts on these negotiations that are coming up in Switzerland? What people should keep in mind as we hear things coming out of this?
Yeah, so I'd say a couple things. First, you know, Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer are fabulously talented negotiators. The president has put together the best economic policy team in history, and I have faith in them to represent America over there. Now, the second thing I'd say is the president is famous for his negotiating skills. He's one of the best negotiators in history. He's got an entire career of negotiated deals, and I think that many people didn't think that he was going to be able to pull off the Phase 1 deal with China during his first term. And you know what? He did. He pulled that deal off. He pulled it out of a hat, and it was a fabulous deal for America. It had intellectual property considerations. It had chapters on market access. It had chapters on Chinese purchases of agricultural commodities from the United States. It was a great deal. And you know what? It's a shame the Biden administration walked away from it and didn't enforce it and threw away the president's accomplishments. But you know what? He's a great negotiator, and if anyone can make this happen, it's him.
So let's talk about the Fed for a minute, Stephen, because we know that the president has urged rate cuts from Jerome Powell. He said he's not going to fire Jerome Powell, who has said he wants to stay in the position. But here was the comment from the Federal Reserve today. The committee seeks to achieve maximum employment and inflation at a rate of 2% over the longer run. Those two things are, you know, pretty standard for what the Fed goals are. Then they went on to say this: uncertainty about the economic outlook has increased further. The committee is attentive to the risks to both sides of our dual mandate and judges that the risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation have risen. And that was the reason that they wanted to hold steady. What is your assessment of that move, Stephen?
Look, I think the president has a fantastic track record on this subject because he's got a career as a negotiator not only in real estate, but that's also given an appreciation for how interest rates work. And in 2018, 2019, the president was right that inflation wasn't a big problem and that interest rates were moving too high and should come back down. And eventually, consensus came around to his view. And in 2021, the same thing happened in the other direction. The president was 100% correct that inflation was about to be a massive problem and that interest rates needed to move higher to control it. The rest of the world dismissed inflation as transitory. And you know what? Eventually, consensus again came around to the president's view. So I think he's got a fantastic track record on this subject, and I think that deserves to be heeded, the history of the track record.
Let me ask you about your assessment, because you're the head of the Council of Economic Advisors. So do you think the United States risks higher unemployment or higher inflation over, let's say, the next 3 months? What's your assessment?
So my assessment is that the month-to-month data can be volatile. Look, the president took action with historic scope and speed to put American workers on fair ground and end America Last trade policy and start America First trade policy. Now, the scope of the policy adjustment was just extraordinarily historic. So there can absolutely be volatility, and we've seen that volatility in financial markets. That volatility can spill into the economic data too. And so on a month-to-month basis, I think that there's the possibility of that volatility. But over time, I don't think there's going to be material adverse consequences.
So you are not concerned. I'm trying to read through what you're saying here. You're not concerned that the United States will see higher unemployment or higher inflation, as the Fed has just said they're concerned about. Do you think those things will happen, or do you think the American people need to be prepared for the possibility of that? In other words, the president saying, you can have $3 but not 20, that maybe Americans are going to need to sacrifice a little bit on those fronts to get where they want to go?
Yeah, so I think the president, as you point out, the president has said that there may be some disruptions due to what's going on in trade. But what I want to point out is that those disruptions are temporary, because in the fullness of time, Americans have the ability to be flexible about where we import from, right? First of all, we can make stuff at home. We can import from other countries that we make deals with that treat us better, as opposed to countries that treat us worse. And we have the ability to be flexible with our economic patterns and our trade patterns, and as well as increasing production at home. Now, that can't be done overnight. Right?
Sure.
So it takes some time. And so as time passes, those types of disruptions will fade. But in the short term, sure, as the president has said, and as you just quoted him, disruptions are possible.
So, but Powell is saying we must hold steady with interest rates because he has expressed these concerns about inflation rising again. So are you saying that the White House does not believe that inflation is coming back, even if, Powell had decided to cut rates?
Yeah, we do not believe that, and the president's been very clear with his views about interest rates and monetary policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Stephen Miron. Always good to talk to you. Obviously, the economy, very important topic for all Americans as we look at everything that's going on. Stephen Miron, thank you very much.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.